Check. What's up, Internet? I'm Vid, and for some reason, intros are the hardest part of the video to make. Today we're going to be drawing a good friend of mine. I knew him back in the day when he was saving England from all kinds of threats. Anyway, without further ado, let's ado it. In today's video, I'm going to be using an 11 by 15 sheet of watercolor paper, a mechanical pencil for sketching, and trust me, if you're anything like me, you're going to want to start with pencil, a large eraser, a black fine point marker for the final line work, a set of watercolor paints, a broad brush for coloring large areas, and a fine point brush for the smaller details. You're going to want to start by drawing a circle, and then two curved lines for the jawline, followed by a straight line down the middle. Then you're going to draw a curved line to represent Arthur's spine. He's going to be in a crouch position, so it's going to look a little funky to start. Then we're going to draw two circles for Arthur's shoulders. The one in front is going to be a bit bigger, and the one in back is going to be a little bit smaller, higher up, and closer to the head. Then we're going to draw a circle approximately where his neck would meet his torso, so a little bit behind the head because of the angle of his body. Next we're going to sketch out a simple framework for his upper torso, following the curvature of his spine, followed by a curved line where his waist would be, and then another curved line to finish out the torso. For each arm we're going to draw two straight lines, one pair bent at about 90 degrees and the other bent at a slight angle. And then we're going to draw something that looks a bit like a curved arrow for his pelvic region, which is angled slightly outward due to his position. For his hands, we're going to draw some circles. His left hand is going to appear slightly larger because it's reaching into the foreground. We're going to add some finger shapes. Yeah, I don't know what else to call them. His legs are going to be bent to indicate that he's crouching slightly. So we'll draw those. And obviously we have to draw him holding Excalibur, so a short line for the cross guard, a long line for the blade, and for his right foot we'll start with a circle for the heel and two straight lines that meet in a point. We're seeing his left foot at a different angle, so I'm drawing a sideways oval for the front and a smaller circle in back. Whoops, forgot his thumb. Let's give some shape to his arms and legs. So two curved lines for the upper arm, and then two curved lines for the forearm, tapering slightly at the wrist. This leg is angled outward, so two curved lines for the thigh, and then a curved line and a straight line for the calf, and then a circle for the knee. Now let's draw his other leg. I'm adding a curved line for his glutes because you know King Arthur does his squats. And then two curved lines tapering at the ankle for his calf. And because of the angle, the upper half of his right arm is going to be mostly hidden by his torso. For Excalibur's crossguard, I'm turning the line we drew earlier into something that looks kind of like a bracket. And then we got two straight lines for the hilt, ending in a circle for the pommel. For organic shapes, I don't really worry too much about straight lines, but for something like a sword, I want my lines to be as straight as possible. And what do you know, my line is not straight. I couldn't find a ruler, so I'm using this piece of cardboard to help me draw straight lines. Now I'm going to draw a small triangle for the top of the sword. And then I'm going to draw the edges of the blade, extending from the cross guard to the corners of the triangle. And I'm trying to be as symmetrical as possible. We'll start the base of his crown with a curved line running across the top of his head, followed by two short lines extending upward on each side, and then another curved line. The sides of his crown are going to angle outward slightly. You know what, don't worry too much about the crown right now. Here I am going crazy trying to make it like super intricate, but I'm just going to end up changing it later. So for his face, we're going to start with 2 small circles for his eyes, a small circle for his nose, and a short horizontal line for his mouth. And we're going to draw his ears pretty high up on the sides of his head because it's angled downward slightly. Now let's give him a belt. So an oval for the buckle and 2 curved lines on either side. He's going to be wearing a tunic as well, so we can start sketching that in. It's going to drape over his backside and hang down between his legs in front. For the bottom of the garment, you can draw a squiggly line connecting the bottoms of each side. Then draw some vertical lines extending upward from what would be the outermost parts, and then erase whatever would be hidden from view. I'm going to give him a round cloak pin to hold his cape, which is going to be draped over his shoulders. His armor is going to have shoulder pads consisting of 2 metal plates layered one on top of the other, so we can go ahead and draw those in now. He's also going to be wearing these little vambraces on each forearm, so we can draw some curved lines for those. Let's continue drawing his cape with a line extending downward and adding something that's almost like a pea pod shape at the end for where the fabric folds over on itself. And then we can use the same trick that we used for the tunic. And you can't go into battle without some rad knee pads. Because of the angle of this leg, this knee pad's going to be shaped kind of like the blade of a hatchet. And then the strap will extend to a point behind the knee because Arthur's leg is bending around it. The knee pad is overlapping a shin protector, which flares out on the bottom and dips down on the side to protect the ankle. Next we'll draw the heel of Arthur's boot. And the front of the boot is going to look kind of like a bird's beak with like another little beak tucked behind it. Same for the other boot. Bird's beak, another little beak tucked behind it. We'll go ahead and finish his leg armor. Because of the angle of this leg, this knee pad is going to look a bit more like a hexagon. And I'm going to be giving his tunic a colored border, so we'll draw some lines getting closer together as they move into the background, along the back and up the front. To help me draw the face, I've added some vertical lines to give me an idea of where the pupils are going to go. And because the face is angled downward, you're going to see some of the whites of his eyes underneath the pupils. And it's almost going to look like his eyes are angled upwards on the side, but it's just because he's kind of leaning forward. And I don't like the crown, so I'm going to change it. Let's give his nose a bridge. And he's going to have hair that's not quite shoulder length. I'm extending it a bit lower in front because of the angle of his head. Next we're going to give him a goatee that comes to a point in front of him. I'm using kind of jagged lines for the hair because I want him to look a little bit rugged. Now let's add the jewels on the base of the crown. So an oval in the middle and little circles along the side. And then for the point, we'll add 2 lines coming down at a sharp angle and then 2 lines curving inward. And then we can sort of mark out where some of the other points are going to go. And then basically just repeat that shape. Don't forget some little points for the back of the crown. Now let's give his right hand some fingers. The thumb is going to be curving over the other fingers, which are going to be gripping Excalibur's hilt. Speaking of which, to give the appearance that he's wearing chainmail armor, we're going to draw these U-shapes scattered about his arms and legs. And I'm just adding a pretty simple pattern to the cloak pin. And I also added 3 crowns running down the front of his tunic. That's because during my research for this video, I learned that one of the coats of arms most commonly associated with King Arthur consists of 3 golden crowns on a blue background. So I figured I would put that in my drawing. And you can see that from top to bottom, each one gets a little bit more squished, and that's because of his position. Also note that I jazzed up Excalibur's crossguard. Alright, I think we're ready to take our fine point black marker and carefully go over all of our line work. And then we can take our large eraser and erase all of the pencil marks. And now we're ready to color. As I go, I am leaving some white in places where I want there to be highlights. That way the armor looks shiny and metallic. Color, color, color. I'm still getting used to coloring with watercolors, but I find that I tend to really like the finished product. And there you have it, my old pal King Arthur. We go way back. Hey, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more drawing videos, and ring the bell if you'd like to receive a notification every time I upload. If you have any ideas for videos I should make in the future, you can leave a comment below or just contact me on Twitter. Alright, that's all I got. I am gonna go edit this video and then take a very long nap.